Welcome to Caribbean Thought. I'm your professor, Renaldo McKenzie. We will not have a full class this week. However, we are still in the embryonic stages of the class, which involves laying the foundation and setting the stage. For those of us who were at class last week, you would have begun to understand and to ferment in your minds ideas about this course. One of the things that we want to highlight in this course, Caribbean thought is not Caribbean family life. It's not Caribbean theology. It's not Caribbean philosophy. However, it is a course that involves the exploration of Caribbean history, Caribbean theology, Caribbean philosophy, and life, critically using Afrocentric and subaltern paradigms. Subaltern or history from below, subaltern or paradigm, so Afrocentric paradigms or history from below. When we talk about, in other words, we are looking at history. We're providing a perspective on history, a perspective on life, a perspective on theology, one that is uniquely Caribbean, but that is rooted in a paradigm that still embraces academia. It has to be epistemological, but epistemology, what is Caribbean epistemology? How do we arrive at truth? But Caribbean is part of the Western world. The Caribbean, we say, is an invention, or is supposed to be an invention, stemming from Christopher Columbus. So we say the Caribbean is an invention. What will it be in the 21st century? But many can push back against that. But we have to first understand and to look at the perspectives. What perspective? What is our approach to Caribbean? I know many of us might be familiar with Caribbean studies, but it is not Caribbean studies, because we will learn that the Caribbean studies that we are exposed to, it has to be a kind of Caribbean study. What we will do is we will critique Caribbean studies, or what we understand. That's part of the whole understanding of Caribbean thought. Caribbean thought looks at currents that have come to inform and shape the Caribbean. We will hopefully, towards the end of the class, we'll get a chance to look at the syllabus. Today you will get to introduce yourselves. Who are you? Why are you at JTS? What do you hope to achieve from a bachelor's degree at JTS? Why are you in this class? What have you heard about this class or known about this class? What do you hope to achieve? Where are you going? And then you might want to touch on the subject. Is there a paradigm to Caribbean based on your understanding of Caribbean thought or Caribbean history and your understanding of Amazon's Afrocentric paradigm? You may want to start exploring. Is there a paradigm to Caribbean thought? Is there a paradigm to Caribbean studies? Should there be one? I don't know. One that is devoid of European influence. One that starts from a position of victory, as if we have ever started anywhere else. Leon.
Yes, sir. Here.
Go ahead.
So you want me to answer first? Who am I? Right?
No, I don't. I saw your hand up. I don't know if we are beginning now. I'm just saying that this class will get to.
It was pertaining to the assignment, though. I had my hand up pertaining to the assignment.
Oh, go ahead.
But it isn't in line with what you were asking us for. Because in writing the assignment, I had difficulties because I read a paper, I think by somebody named Mabingo. Don't remember their name, but I realized that I fell in that category where he said that many Caribbean people reject their ancestry, their African ancestry, because either they just outright reject it, or they reject it out of ignorance. And when I thought about it, I realized that I haven't given any thought to you know, my whole history, the African side of it. I mean, we learned in high school about, just the general knowledge, slave
Yeah.
trade, African people, what they ate, what they did supposedly while they were in Africa, and we learned about what the Tainos did and what they ate and what were just the general knowledge, but not how they actually live.
Yeah.
Not what it is to be African, not what it is to be African in the Caribbean. I thought that Jamaica is just Jamaican, it has been influenced by America and other nations. But in writing the paper, I was so confused
Oh.
because I was thinking this requires a lot.
This course will address some of
This
the
requires a lot because yeah.
this
But
course will address
I
some
think
of
there
this.
is a paradigm, a very small paradigm in established, especially with this course.
Mhm.
But outside of this course, there are very few things done in the Caribbean to support Afrocentric paradigm. But there is some, very limited.
Well, let me tell you, Afrocentricity contends that our main problem is, as African people, is is our usually unconscious adoption of the Western worldview and
Western.
perspective and their attendant conceptual framework. Fine, we're also we it also there is a framework within which we think as well. Afrocentricity contends that our main problem as African people is our usually unconscious adoption of Western worldview and perspective and their attendant conceptual framework as ideal, as natural. We accept their ideals to our detriment. To our detriment, providing, and by that we're talking about marginal experience in the white man's world. We accept their ideals to our detriment, where we become marginal experiences in the white man's world. We thus are lost in madness. We
Yes, sir.
therefore must reorient ourselves. This is according to Africologists and what people like, what's his name again? W.E.B. Du Bois is talking about. And when you read the Afrocentric paradigm, the challenge is our liberation. Our liberation rests on our ability to systematically displace European ways of thinking. Let me say this again. What's the challenge? Our challenge is our liberation. This is the challenge. Our liberation rests on our ability to systematically displace European ways of thinking, being, feeling, and replace them with African ways, African culture. The key idea here is epistemological centeredness. The Afrocentric paradigm is what the key idea with this assignment. The key idea of this assignment is epistemological centering or centeredness. Again, let me say this again. The problem, according to Africologists, or according to the Afrocentric paradigm, or why we need the problem is this: Afrocentricity contends that our main problem as African people is our usual unconscious adoption of the Western worldview and perspective and their attendant conceptual framework. That's a very important, what I'm saying, conceptual framework. I mean, conceptual, how we conceptualize things. Things are conceptualized within a framework. So then we ask you, to write a reflection paper. Part of writing the reflection paper means how will you frame it? I want to see how will you frame it? Where does your frame come from? What credence or value do you give to your European influences and to your African influences? But of course, there are people like Sarah Balakrishna who talks about Afropolitanism as against Afrocentricity and Eurocentricity. She talked, and as against subaltern, she talked about Afrocentricity, and I will talk about that in the class week after next when I wrap up this course because it's supposed to be you. Afropolitanism, according to Sarah Balakrishna, transcends a kind of Afrocentricity and European. In other words, you're looking at, because when we talk about how do you, okay, within the US, I'm in the US, we talk about that's the experience of the African experience is different. The Caribbean, we talk about in Jamaica, out of many one people, or the Caribbean talks about out of many one people. And so you may argue, well, I mean, we can't just look at the Caribbean as being African, but listen to what your classmate have said, a powerful point. He says, we have a tendency of neglecting the African side. So fine, you might say, oh yeah, but we are not just African. We are hybridized people. We are not just African. We are Indian. We are Scottish. We are this. We are that. We are third. But when you look at our conceptual framework, we are only African in some ways, not in the important ways, because African and not in the important ways, because we have within ourselves, we have demeaned our culture, demean our family, demean our, And what the next thing is, if we were to follow Sarah Balakrishna and her idea of moving away from just from rescuing African by talking about it and embracing it, and just talking about this out of many, this oneness, that's a problem. Because even in the mix-up and blender, one thing always gets left. Okay? One thing gets left. And the way how society is, the African side always gets left behind. But anyways, Afrocentricity contends that our main problem as African people is our usual unconscious adoption of Western worldview and perspective and their attendant conceptual framework as ideal. So we accept their ideals to our detriment. That's the problem. To our detriment. And by detriment, we're talking about marginal experiences in the white man world. The detriment is white man experience in the white man. We thus are lost in, quote unquote, madness. We must therefore then orient ourselves. But what's the challenge? Our liberation rests on our ability to systematically displace European ways of thinking, being, feeling, and replace them with African ways, African culture. The key idea, how do we do this? That's what the Afrocentric paradigm is, okay? Epistemological centeredness. Where is your center? Where is your center? The other day, last week, I said to a student, I'm not a Jew. I'm not a Jew. I wonder, what is the professor referring to? That was an esoteric comment. That was an esoteric comment. You'll hear people like, you will hear me talk about the 7 characteristics of Karenga. And many people in the 80s were baptized into this new Afrocentric wave where they no longer were named David and Peter and Saul and Paul. Many Africologists took on the name Molefi Ashanti and so on and so forth, African name, to recognize their baptism, their new. But then again, people who are oriented into theory, why haven't they adopted this new stance? It is the malady. Because we still lack a frame. So we need an epistemological centeredness, a framework driven by a frame of reference where phenomena are viewed from the perspective of the African person. It centers on placing people placing people of Africa in control of their lives. As an intellectual theory, Afrocentricity is the study of the ideas and events from the standpoint of Africans as key players rather than as victims. This is a powerful point I'm making. Africa asserting itself intellectually and psychologically so as to break the bonds of Western domination. Africa, here advocating for what? African asserting itself intellectually and psychologically so as to break the bonds of Western domination. We talk about the Caribbean is an invention of the 21st century. The Caribbean has been made to be dependent capitalist countries. Wherever you go, whenever you go and you find a country or a place that is heavily populated by black and brown people, there you find poverty, there you find lack, there you find corruption. Walter Rodney wrote how Europe underdeveloped Africa. Even within the black man, the African man, and we will talk about a logic, how we call ourselves black. That's part of the problem too, you know. Nothing black no good. Or nothing black no good. People from Africa are black. Therefore, guess what? All people who are black, no good. That is a logical, philosophical argument. Even within the epistemological framework of the Western world, we can take a logic and still give credence to the fact that nothing black no good, and people who are black, them no good either, because it follows the logic. So that's why this Afrocentricity and the Afrocentric part, and what we're doing with Caribbean thought and Caribbean studies is to rescue the African side, the brown side, give it an epistemological centeredness. Somebody had their hand up. Go ahead. Talika, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I was saying that one of the reason or the reason why we are not so accepting of our Afrocentricity is because of the doctored information that has been thrown out there about Africa. What we know of Africa is just the slavery, poverty, and all of that. But then if you would go back even further, they'll tell you that the cradle of life actually began in that region. So we would have to be taught a different way of life. What was Africa or our Afrocentricity really about before the doctored information, before the infiltration of Europeans, so to speak? Because that is the way that the mind is enslaved. So you are taught to think a particular way so that you behave a particular way.
Stop right there. What, Talika? Stop right there. Look, you said you are thought. You are thought. So we are thermometers instead of thermostats. We're thermometers instead of thermostats. Africans must appropriate their own experiences as a challenge to European naturalism and its power structure. Let me say this. Africans must appropriate their own experiences as a challenge to European nationalism and its power structure. In this sense, the aim is to give us our African victories and our consciousness back. So yes, I agree with you. But then courses like these, we talk about Caribbean academics, developing Caribbean academics that think in certain ways and then act in certain ways. But what you find is over the last 50, 20 years, it's an academia and institutions. We talk about Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault talks about the relationship between knowledge an institution, and how institutions are created to maintain a particular kind of knowledge base. So knowledge and institutions and how they are created to maintain the power structure. The church is part of the institution of society. When you study society, you want to ask the question, in whose interest is the society made? Because when you start to look at philosophy, we're going to ask you, what is the color of that? It is every color but blue. You look at something that look blue, but then philosophy, when you study epistemology or metaphysics, which is what is ultimately real about anything. But in a sense, when you look at society, in whose interest is a society made? In whose interest was the society made? It defies people like David Locke and Hume in their kind of theory, classic theory about how anything come about. Nothing is as if everything is natural. Nothing is made in stone, according to people like Kant. Kant in his history. But these are, I'm introducing the topics. These are stuff we're going to be talking about. Immanuel Kant, Michel Foucault. But I said to you, life is what you make it, or you allow others to make of it for you. Life is about people and how people relate. Yet life is what you make it, or allow others to make of it for you. So you said we are thought. So how then must we respond? Well, in 2021, 2022, the Jamaican government said that they were going to have open discussion to legalize obeah. How did they respond? By saying evil. The same information that we got about it continues today because of institutions. So then we have to talk about institutions. How do institutions continue a particular dynamic? Talika or Lilith?
Hi, sir. Good evening. Did you see the article I posted in the group today?
In Caribbean Thought?
Yeah, as it relates to a gentleman from the University of the West Indies taking the government to court obeah, the obeah Act. Bert Samuels is representing the gentleman. I think that there was a case some time ago, recently, where the police went and raided a young man's home and they found stuff that they thought he was practicing obeah, and he was brought before the court. But they are saying that it is his home is his private place and stuff like that. So a lecturer at the university has now taken the government to court to review the act, because what they are saying that it wasn't lawful for the gentleman privacy to be invaded, and he brought before the court.
Lily?
Yeah, I'm done talking. You weren't
Wow,
hearing
thank
me?
you. I appreciate you sharing that. Wow. I wonder what are the feelings, how you guys feel about this gentleman that was arrested? Do you believe that the government should have allowed this? Or well, it's also maybe I think it's
But
out of the hands of the government. It's a legal issue. But the government can pick and choose what they press and what they don't press. Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, but what I don't even know what to look for when to say that someone is practicing obeah. Is it because I see somebody burning a candle, or I see an oil in a bottle that I am not familiar with, or I see a skull in somebody's home, to say that I don't even know what to look for? Because yes, we know about obeah in Jamaica, and all we can say it is bad and it hurts people, but I don't know. I've never even seen the
Wow,
obeah
wow,
act
wow, wow.
before.
Great. Yeah, that is you. So yeah, most Jamaicans, especially conservative Jamaicans, believe that obeah is evil, even to today.
Yes.
If I
How
were to
can we say
ask,
it's not?
let me
Because
ask you,
that's
if I were to ask, let me ask do a straw poll. How many persons in this class believe that obeah is evil? We have 24 people in the class, 22 students. Of the 22 students, how many of you believe evil Obia is bad?
I was grown to believe it is
No.
bad.
Okay. All right, you know what? Let me do a poll. Okay, hold
Because
on,
we
guys.
think that, oh, the Obia, the girl, and them killer, and them wicked, and that is all we have never heard about Obia.
All right, hold on. I'm going to do oops, where is it? I'm going to do a untitled question. Is okay, sorry. Obia is evil and good. All right. Damn it. I'm sorry. I've said that. I can't spell Caribbean, guys. All right, there we go.
Where are you typing?
I'm going to open up, I'm giving you, yes. I'm going to give you, no. Yes. I'm giving you some choices. You're going to respond in the group, on the Zoom thing in a second. Yes. But should be. All right. Let's take this out. Phobia. Attitude. Yeah. All right. How do I publish it? Save.
Hi, sir. I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, welcome. Welcome. Save to library. What's up? How are you?
I am here, sir. I am here.
Good. I understand you weren't well. Are you doing much better? I know you had an accident. How are you feeling? Much better? All right, Chantel can probably she's still I think she's driving now. But I'm going to launch a poll. I'm going to ask you guys to answer that. Attitudes towards Obia in Caribbean. Obia is evil and should not be legalized in Jamaica or the Caribbean. Yes, no, or you could put yes, but should be legal or undecided. Okay? All right, so can you guys do this right now?
Why didn't you have a slot for no but explain?
No,
I can't say
yes or
yes, I
no?
can't say no, because I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, you put undecided if you're not sure.
Okay, good.
Okay. But before you came to this class, before you came to this class and started reading about the Afrocentric paradigm and everything, what was your position?
Negative. Obia is a wicked thing, evil. Because that's
Okay. That's what I
I'm-
want. I want you to put what your position was before you came to this class. Okay? Before you started thinking and then started reading.
Obia is evil and should not be legalized.
Sir,
Yes, it is evil.
Go ahead.
I accidentally closed the poll and now I can't reopen it.
You should be able to, on the bottom of the screen, there's something that says poll and quizzes. You should be able to go in.
Okay.
You click on it. So far, 11 of 65%. 65% of the 22 or the 26, 25 said yes. 19 of 25 people participated. So 76% have participated so far. Some of you have not participated as yet. But so far, 21 of 25 says yes. 2 said no, undecided 4. All right, I'm going to end the poll now, okay? Okay? %73%, 9%, 0, and 18%. All right, so let's end the poll. Share results. Are you guys seeing the results?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
So, of the persons in this class, and probably this is a picture of the country or the character, trust me, 73% believe that Obia is evil and should not be legalized in Jamaica or the Caribbean. 9% said no. Yes, nobody believe that it is that it should yes, but should be legal. Nobody believes that, and then the last one, 4 persons are undecided. This is quite interesting. Now, but this is as at before you came to the class. Now, okay, why? So let me ask the question: what the persons who said yes? Why do you believe? Why did you come with that? Why did you have that attitude or position that it is evil and should not be legalized?
Sir,
Natasha,
okay.
I see your hand, Natasha.
Yes, sir. I was trying to unmute. So I didn't say yes. I said no.
Okay.
It is not an evil. It is not evil. I said no for that because we are only seeing Obia as one-sided. What about those who actually use the same rituals? I see it as a ritual, the same rituals and all of that for medicinal purposes back then.
Yes,
Our
yes.
ancestors, the Africans, they use it as a ritual probably for healing and other stuff. And some persons, some culture actually use it to drive away evil spirits. So how is it evil?
Interesting. That's good. Anybody else have a different opinion? Constance.
Yes, sir. I said yes, it should not be legalized. From my point of view, the way I see it, I know Obia, people using Obia to work against innocent people, either to try to kill them or to hold them down, something evil. That's the knowledge that I have about
Let me
Obia.
ask you a
I
question.
don't really think.
Did you see the Pope response to to Ibrahim Traore?
No, sir. I came on late.
Sir,
No,
did
I
no,
he
no.
just
We didn't
actually
have
came.
it in this
respond?
class, but
Did he?
no, 2 days ago, the Pope responded to a letter. The Pope at his first mass responded to a letter that Ibrahim Traore sent to him of the church. He talked about how the church, the history of siding with actors who have enslaved Africans and impoverished Africans in the name of God, in the name of the church. Yet, the church, the Bible, in fact, we've heard people say, "Suck them." We've seen the people. We've heard that the Bible was used to start slavery. But what does that say? But you have to still have millions of people who follow the Roman Catholic Church or Christianity, even though we hear of the Crusades. Yes?
Sorry, kind of
Sorry,
low. Didn't
low.
hear what you said. We heard the Bible did what?
Even though we
I
hear of
didn't hear you.
we know of the Crusades, yes? We know of the Crusades. We still embrace Christianity. We know of heinous crimes. We still embrace some things. The point I'm making is Nothing black, no good. Africans or things from Africa are, the point I'm making is there's a discrimination between black or African people and Europeans and their cultures and their practices, even within the African himself. Because, say for example, I said to you, white people can have a can fight against their freedom and they call that a revolution. That's okay. When black people do it, or African and brown people do it, they call it terrorism. So Mandela was a terrorist, yes, and he was jailed, yeah. The church. Let's talk about religion. The church have committed heinous crime, and people have wrongly used the Bible, but it's fine. But when Africans or their cultures or their resources or their tools are engaged in these things, oh, that is their evil. No, we've heard of evil that the church has done, but the church will forever be pure because that's synonymous with white. But the moment that something African is misused or abused, and what it is to abuse something, to use something that for what it's not intended for, the moment that because what we know about Africa, of Obia, is that none of the Maroons and these people use it for protection, for healing, the same thing that you pray for God for strength and for, the same thing for power, for protection against the white masters and the terror and so on, for protection and for healing. That's what we know. But who made Obia evil? It wasn't the African man. It was the white man, somebody that you were not. But yet still we're going to embrace that. I mean, remember, they've used the Bible to do heinous crime, but it is still pure. Now they use Obia and other African books to talk about bad stuff. Oh, so that's bad. Say for example, even to today, we continue with that trope. Obama could not roll up his sleeve in the White House, but look what other people are doing. Anyways, you get the point. I'm making a point. It's simplistic, but you get the point. Anybody? Yes, go ahead. I see another hand.
All right, sir. All right. So for me, I selected yes. It should not. I wouldn't want it to come into Jamaica or to be legalized, and the reason for that is, it would be an individual thing, and you have good and you have evil. So even I think somebody before said that they don't see anything wrong with it, but knowing how mankind is, you have good, you have evil. So no matter how persons will say, oh, they're going to use this for good, you still have somebody who is going to do the other thing around.
But yeah, I understand the point, but that's not the point. It's an issue of power.
Yes,
why is
exactly.
it that? Yeah, right. But why is
But
it
sir,
that? But what I'm saying to you is, why is it that somebody can corrupt the purity of something that comes from Africa, and the white man makes it illegal, but the same thing that has the religion that has enslaved you and bastardized you.
So, sir.
Wait, let me finish.
Sir, because of greed and power.
Let me finish. The same religion that is not from Africa, but from the white world, that has enslaved you, and done the same thing that people say, oh, they have done. People say, oh, Christianity have done that too, or the Bible have done it, but yet still they embrace it. Why are there different standards for stuff from Africa as against stuff from Europe? Why?
Sir, I just want to say something, sir. Maybe I'm playing the devil's advocate, but in church, there's good and bad in church, just the same. And
but that's not the question I'm asking. Why? No, but that's not the question. I'm asking, why are we setting two different standards? Both African cultural things and European cultural things have been said to be bad. In fact, Europeans have enslaved the whole people in the name of God and Christianity. But yet still, we still call ourselves Christians. Now, the same, okay, and there are those people who have enslaved us, have given meaning, earlier I said to you, Africans appropriate their own experience as challenge. Appropriate, but we are not appropriating our own experiences, though. We are looking inward and demonizing. We talk about malady and abnormalities. We're looking inward, and what people have said about you, you're taking that and continue to press down on anything black no good. Yes, Natasha or Shana. But this is an introduction because as there is a theoretical framework from it. I'm going to talk at length about this. I'm going to talk at length about this, about the issue of, and by the way, obeah was made illegal in 1882. Sorry, in 1882 in Jamaica. Jamaica is the only Caribbean island where obeah is illegal. Every other Caribbean island has legalized it, as far as I know. As far as I know, most Caribbean islands, okay, have obeah as legal. And just so you know, obeah is practice. It's not a religion. It's a tradition. It's a practice. So a lot of revivalist people practice obeah. Obeah is a practice. So to tell somebody that their practice of religion is evil is discriminatory. So the revivalists, is discriminatory. We practice the same discrimination that have meted out to us. The same discrimination. But don't worry about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing to sir, I don't see why we would say it's wrong or evil, because even our own Bible that we deem, well, it is a holy book, and I know persons who actually use it to do wrong just the same. And we always talk about, oh, if you want to do this, read scripture, this scripture, that scripture. What are you doing? What are you doing? Persons actually use the Bible to work obeah just the same. They put it in the middle and they read the scripture and they cast the spell and they do all of that just the same.
You know, we have become so dignified, we have come to associate dignity and civility, rationality with that which is European, that which is white, that which is Eurocentric. And guess what? We don't even know that in terms of how we, and then many of you are social workers or teachers or will be social workers or professionals. And when you present, and how do we, when we look at certain cultural experiences that emit from certain peoples in communities, and how we, with the culture we have and the society we have, how we approach African traditions or attitudes that project Africa. That's quite an interesting thing. How people speak. We see people as intelligent if the grammar don't fit. I couldn't care less if your grammar don't fit. I mean, back in the days I did. But when we're finished with this class, you'll understand what I'm talking about. This class is only an introduction. I study Africology. I'm doing a PhD in Africology. But before I started doing Africology, I did a Doctor of Liberal Studies. I'm versed in Western civilization. I'm versed, and then I did a class that looking at the foundation of knowledge. And when we were done, everything was from Europe and Greece, nothing from Africa. So I said, what? Sir, where is Africa in all of this? Oh no, you have to go. And I was upset, I was perplexed and apoplectic. And then anyways, I'm a very inquisitive person. So one day I was somewhere and I found this Asset Society. I'm like, what is this in Germantown, Philadelphia? And I started interviewing and learning and doing research. And then I learned about Kamit. I'm like, what the hell? Who the hell is Kamit? This is 4 years ago, guys. This is 4 years ago. I have done a lot of studies at the highest level, the top universities, and I don't know, and I still don't know a lot about my culture and about myself and about my history, about my people, or about the color I emit, that side of me. Okay, what I know is what other people say about me and what other people say. We talk about that, what people say about. Okay, W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the veil. Am I accepted by the white man? How do they see me when I'm around them or in the world? Are we accepted by their religion? Are we accepted by the basis of their faith? Well, I mean, I talk about when you look at when you look at some of the stuff, some people don't talk about a black Jesus or a black God and stuff because they make it a little bit more identity. Because we talk about identity politics and identity religiosity. Anyways, this was not the plan to talk about this today. Each of you is supposed to introduce yourselves. And you guys have already started to do so by engaging in this class. So we're going to wrap up spend the next 15 minutes having you guys introduce yourself up and touching and just quickly giving me 1 minute talk about when your reading of the Afrocentric paradigm, what you think about it. Next week we're going to talk about the facade of independence and continue talking about and wrap up the idea and talk about some more about the Afrocentric paradigm because we're going to talk about it some more next week. Next week we'll really go deep into that, and then throughout this course we will talk about Obia. We'll talk about what it is not, how it is practiced in. Okay, we'll talk about the Great Revival. Okay, what is that? And the various type of traditions that practice Obia. We'll talk about should religion transcend culture or the other way around. So this is we talk about politics and economics, structural economics. I'm a strong economist. That was my area of expertise before I switched over into social work. But actually, no, that's not true. But welcome to the class. Welcome. I would love for you guys to introduce yourself. So go ahead. Who wants to start? You guys will get to introduce.
I will start first, sir.
Go ahead. Yes.
Because I have all right, good evening, class. My name is Shanna Easy. I am a third-year social work student. And all right, let me see now. All right, so
by the way, this is what I'm gonna do. I need to unpin my screen. I'm gonna pause the recording.
Our dominant narrative. I'm not hearing you.
I'm sorry, I have to record what you are saying. So deep. I mean, all what you are saying is amazing. Okay, so I have to. Chantel, are you writing this down? I like it. I like what you guys are saying. I'm sorry.
I sure not summarizing anything.
Beautiful.
But I'm
I love what she
I'm
did.
listening.
So well put, Anna. What she said. How our region have historically responded to geopolitical issues. This is the course for that. You will definitely learn that. And in the book Neoliberalism, we talked about that. Go ahead, Anna.
All right. So in prior to the assignment, I do believe that there is a paradigm to Caribbean thought and the studies, and I believe that it is very increasingly Afrocentric. Reading the book, from what I can remember, it argues for centering African people's perspective and their worldview in academic and cultural analysis. And I think that this approach actually challenges the colonial education system, which is still very present in our Caribbean. However, Mazama's idea really aligns with Caribbean thinkers, and it offers a framework for reclaiming the identity and the history and just the intellectual agency. So, as a Caribbean youth, I believe that this book was both empowering and it's called to decolonize how we actually think and how we learn. Because as I would have explained in what I wrote, it's really weird how growing up in the Caribbean, we actually learned about Shakespeare before we even learned about things like the Asian Revolution. That's it.
Thank you. And just so you know, you will learn. I mean, you won't learn it in this class, but you might hear me say it in passing. I learned this while in an African civilization class about Shakespeare and the classics, as if Africa never had classics. In fact, we are learning about Black Athena. We're learning about all these, what we think about classics and European classics and so on. Many of them come from Africa. You know, many of these classics and you hear about, Africa has given so much to the world that you never knew about. But anyways, continue. Who is next? Who is next? We don't have much time left for this class. I will be ending class early because there is a matter that I have to address that has arisen. So I only will take 2 more persons, and then we will have end class for this week, and we will pick up class for next week. We'll have the full 3-hour class next week, and we will begin we'll have you finish, introduce yourselves, and then we will begin by going over the syllabus and beginning the first lecture. And continuing with the lecture. Who is 2 more persons who want to be next?
Okay, good evening, sir.
Hi.
My name is Constance. Hi, my name is Constance Fergus Booth. I'm a second-year social work student going into 3rd year. And, I did this subject with...
Can you hold it just like this? I'm recording.
No, don't hurt me.
No, that's fine. Hi, everyone. I'm Renaldo McKenzie, the author of Individualism, Globalization, Economic Equality, Poverty, and